All right. Hi, friends. It looks like I'm live, but there's always a delay. So I'm just waiting for all the things to catch up so I can make sure we're live. I'm going to do a little refresh here and see. All right. There we are. Perfect. All right. Hi, friends. So glad you're here. My phone does not seem to want to pull it up. So I'm going to close out and refresh. There we go. There we are on my phone. Okay. All right. Well, thanks for joining me today, friends. We are happy that you're here. I'm Leah Lawson. It's been a couple weeks since I've been live on our channel. So I'm excited to hang out with you for an hour and create a card together. We are going to take a look back at a previously released stamp, stencil, and die set that was from our last washi tape release, which I believe was last October. So that's going to be a fun day. I think I've just got a fun, cute little card planned. I'm kind of taking a card idea that I did during that release and changing its size, changing its color. So I think you're going to hopefully enjoy watching it come together. All right, I see Heather is here. So Heather is my partner in crime. She's the person typing behind the Pinkfresh Studio name today. So the great thing about that is once I get the camera flipped around, I don't see as much the comments because I'm creating at the same time. So she catches a lot of what I miss, especially when it comes to questions. So if you ask questions and I don't answer it, Heather's really good about grabbing them. But if we both miss it, we're not ignoring you. We probably just didn't see it. Sometimes the comments really do fly. And it's possible where we were replying to another one when yours came through. So hello and welcome, everybody. So we are, before I get going, if you're new, I just want to say welcome. So happy that you have found us. We are excited that you found our live. We hope you enjoy what you see and you'll come back with us each week. I won't see you if you mention that you're here for the first time. Once I get going, probably won't see it. So I just want to give a big blanket welcome to everyone, both new and return to our lives. Thank you guys. Very nice comments. I did something with my hair. This is how you know I'm on like the last day before it needs to be washed. Yes. Jill is, we haven't gotten any new snow since like last week. It is, as you can see, super sunshiny here in Minneapolis, still a little chilly, but that's to be expected. I hope wherever you're at, you're having weather that you guys enjoy. Okay, before we get going, a couple things. We give away a $15 gift card code at the end of every live. So what you have to do to enter into the giveaway is already what you're doing. Just chat with us in the live chat. You can chat with other viewers. You can leave questions or comments for us. Like I mentioned, I don't see everything that comes through once I start creating, but Heather is there in the comments and she catches most of it. You can also answer questions. If somebody asks a question and you know the answer, feel free to answer it. Great. The chat is just entries into the giveaway. Another way to gain an extra entry is click the video. There's a button that has an arrow and it says share next to it. Hit that button and share it somewhere. You could share it to your Facebook page. You could share it to your Instagram stories. You could share it if you have like a direct message or an email with crafty friends, you could share it there. And finally, you can share it in a crafty Facebook group. Make sure that it follows the rules. There's some that don't like that. So make sure you know the rules of your favorite crafting groups. And if it is okay to share, then feel free to share there too. Come back here, let us know in the comments that you shared somewhere, and that's just an extra entry into the giveaway. Now, one thing that's not an entry into the giveaway, but we really appreciate if you do it, is to give this video a thumbs up. It helps the reach of the video, pardon me, both now or upon replay as well. So if you're watching on replay, we would love for you also to give the video a thumbs up. And that just helps more crafters find us, maybe people that are just getting into crafting or are trying to figure out if crafting is something that they would enjoy doing. It just helps it get out there. I think somebody asked, oh, Jill, not technically from Minnesota. I'm from Montana. I live in Minnesota, but we are currently building our house back in Montana, and we're going to be moving back this year. We've been here for about 6 years. We love it, but we're just ready to go home. But we'll be back and forth often. My husband still technically works for the corporate office here. We're just allowed to work remote, but we'll be back and forth. I have lots of friends here, so. Okay, I think I've gone over everything that we need to go over. So should probably get this flipped around. Before I flip my camera fully around, you'll notice I don't have my little dog in here today. She is hanging out with the hubby in the other room at his office. So I have my little snoozer with me today, but that's okay. One thing I wanted to show you guys, I'm going to be breaking out. I'm stuck to it. I'm going to be breaking out my Misty hack that I do. We're using a stamp set that is a little bit bigger than stamping platforms typically. And so I am going to be using my Misty hack. And I did not come up with this by any means. Someone shared this with us in our Facebook friends group long ago. And we have since really utilized it because we do create some stamp sets that are longer than most stamping platforms. So I keep mine. It's basically a standard Misty. It is taped to a travel glass mat. And basically I keep it like this because I don't travel very often to craft. So I can take it off when I do go to like a craft night or a crafty day or something. But for the most part, here in my craft room, I keep this Misty on this travel glass mat. So I just have this option available when we are whenever I want to use our longer stamps. So when I flip the camera around, you'll get to see it from the top view, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. But this is basically the Misty hack that I use for our stamps that are a little bit longer. Yes, Heather is the person behind the Pinkfresh Studio name today. And thank you, Vivian. I have this chair. I think I got it on Wayfair a long time ago, and I do really like it. All right, I am going to get my camera flipped around, so bear with me real quick, and we'll get going. Maybe, there we go. Okay, so as I mentioned, this is just a travel mat. It's the Tonic Tim Holtz one. I'm sure there's other travel mats out there, but for a while, this was the only one. And so it's the one I have. Then I just have my standard Misty stamping platform taped to it. So I have tape kind of round the side. I showed you on the back, but I'll flip it over one more time around the back. Ignore those big pieces of purple painter tape. They're not doing anything. I just stored them there and then I forgot they were there. So this is how I prefer to stamp with these larger stamps. Now, there's the memory Misty out there, which is the big Misty. So when I use the big Misty during a live, the window hits the camera. So it's not ideal. So I prefer this method, but of course there's other stamping platforms out there as well that might be bigger, which you can absolutely use however you want to. Connie, I'm going to be honest with you. I am not familiar with the Stamparatus, so I can't answer that question. So I'm very sorry about that. Yes, so today we are going to be using the Whimsical Blooms stamp, stencil, and die set. There is a coordinating washi tape for this. I'm not using that today. It is currently out of stock. I'm sure it will be back in stock at some point. We're not focusing on the washi tape today anyway. We are going to use the stamps, stencils, and dies. Now, this was part of our Create and Connect event last year. So I think that was in May. And funny enough, this was my class. So sometimes you get a little tired of product, but I think it's been long enough. And when I was looking through them today, I was like, oh, I would love to use this set because I've never used it live and it's very, very pretty. So we're going to go ahead and use that today. So we're going to start off. I have a full sheet of cardstock here. This is just a piece of 8.5 by 11, 100-pound hammermill white cardstock. I have just cut in half long ways. So the lost my train of thought. Dimension is 4.25 by 11 inches. Now I don't need the full 11 inches, but I'm going to utilize it so that I have a little bit of area to add my tape down. And I'm going to go ahead and tape this cardstock down to the glass mat. Then I'm going to grab the stamp. So these long stamps, now mine has been used, so it's going to peel away from the acetate pretty easily. But when they're new, one thing that we like to mention is peel the acetate away from the stamp versus the other way around, because we don't want to stretch our stamps. Photopolymer is strong, but this is a very big stamp set. And because we put so many working pieces with our stamp, when you combine the stencils and the one-piece die, you really don't want to run the risk of accidentally stretching your stamp out. So I like to just be ginger and careful with it, take my time to remove it from that acetate packaging, and then go ahead and get it ranged onto the cardstock where you know that it will be able to be grabbed by the lid. Now I'm going to move this down a little bit. So some of this might be a little off screen. Hopefully you will get to see the majority of it here. So then go ahead and swing your lid over. And so basically you're just using the MISTI in the opposite way intended. It's a great hack for people that don't have the bigger stamping platforms available. I just saw a question and now I can't find it. So I can't remember who, I can't see who said it, but yes. The stamp, stencil, and die for this set are currently in stock. It's the washi tape that's out of stock right now for this. I'm sure that will come back in stock, but the stamp, stencil, and die is absolutely in stock. I check all of that stuff before I plan out my card, get going. So I'm going to heat emboss this today. So I was just prepping my cardstock with some anti-static powder so that the embossing powder will only stick. Oh, hold on. Dropping my stamp acetate everywhere. So that the embossing powder will only stick where I stamp. And also one other thing that I forgot to mention, all of the supplies that I'm using today are linked in the video description. So if you're wanting easy access to finding them, to grab them, you can find them there. And then now I'm just going to start inking up with some embossing ink. I like to stamp a few times with embossing ink because I just don't think I'm just a soft stamper. Ooh, that is squeaky. Sorry if that noise is coming through. I apologize. It's kind of like nails on a chalkboard sound, but it is what it is. Oh, goodness. Paula is saying, raise your hand if you've forgotten to use anti-static powder before embossing. All the time. I do it all the time. And then I'm like, dang it, I have to start over. All right. So using this MISTI hacks allows you the ability to stamp multiple times. Oh, I am so sorry that I really hope that this squeaky sound is not coming through, but if it is, I do apologize because it is awful. I just need to kind of move this up so I can check the image. I think for good measure, I'm going to stamp it one more time. It looks pretty good, but I'm going to do it just one more time because this is a nice big image. Yep. Actually, we just did it. It was me, Heather, Crafty Zoom. We were prepping for our March release, and I just got busy and wasn't thinking. And of course, I had to redo it. I had embossing powder everything. Good. I'm glad you guys don't hear the squeaking because it is awful. Okay. Make sure that did well. Perfect. Okay. I think we are done stamping. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to move this entire piece out of the way. I'll clean the stamp later. It's just embossing ink. So I'm not real worried about it sitting on there. And then we're going to go ahead and get our image covered in embossing powder. I am using gold pearl. Heather and I are kind of on a gold pearl kick these days. I just thought that this would look really pretty in the gold pearl. So, Connie, the thing I was using underneath my Misty platform, what I had it taped to, is just a glass, travel size glass medium. The version I was using was the Tim Holtz travel mat from Tonic. I think there are other options out there now, but when I bought my travel mat, that was the only one available. But in essence, it's just a travel size glass mat that allowed me to utilize my stamping platform in that other way for these longer stamps. Oh, this embossing powder is sticking to where I had the tape. Of course it is. All right, I feel like that got pretty good coverage. So let's put away this embossing powder real quick. Yes, the gold pearl embossing powder is so pretty. And like I said, we're gonna heat set it here in a minute. And I never feel like my video does it justice, but it's so pretty in real life. Okay, I'm in a heat set. It's a big image, so it's gonna take a little bit of time. Zoom should mute this here, but if it sounds a little weird or garbled, it's just Zoom. So I'll be back once I'm done heat setting. So I didn't catch who asked it, but I saw a question running through asking if we do a lot of these longer stamp sets. And we actually do, because we do our washi tape product suites. And when we do those, we always include coordinating stamp set with it. And so those tend to always be longer because it's the full panel of florals. And then we also offer slimline size products. So we do actually have quite a few of these longer stamp sets. So one thing I have learned about the gold pearl embossing powder is that it needs a little bit of time to set. So I have accidentally put my thumb right in one after heat embossing and totally ruined it. So I'm just giving it a minute here to set up before we get going. Hi, Carissa. So happy that you're joining us today. Oh, yes. I see a couple of people also mentioning the blending brushes. So the blending brushes did come back in or did get restocked. I think that they are flying. So if there's something you are interested in getting, I would grab some. If you're not able to this time, we will have another, but we do have another restock shipment on the way as well. Oh, look, our friends from scrapbook.com are here. Hi. Hope you guys are doing well. Okay, I'm just going to do a quick finger check to make sure. All right, good. My embossing powder is nice and set up, so I'm not going to ruin it. All right, and I'm just doing just trying to kind of straighten out that warping that happens a little bit from the heat embossing process, and also trying to make sure that I get this lined up well enough so that you can at least see most of the ink blending as it goes. All right, let me grab my ink stand real quick and we get going. So let me grab the stencils and we're going to go over those real quick. This is a 6-piece stencil set. And I'm just going to let you know that I'm actually going to take the 2 first stencils, which are stencil 1 and 2, and I'm going to put them to the back. That's because that's the greenery. And just for my own preference, I prefer to ink blend the florals first. So we're actually going to start on stencil 3. We'll do 1 and 2 at the end, which are the greenery pieces. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start at stencil 3. So same as all of our stencils, they're numbered in the upper left corner. I don't know that I have glare, that maybe there's a little bit of glare that I can show you. They're numbered and they have alignment guides. Those alignment guides are perfectly sized for a true slimline size panel, which is 3 5/8 by 8 5/8. But you only use those when you're using the stencils alone. When you're using them with a stamped or heat embossed image, like I am today, you just align the stencil openings up to the stamped or heat embossed piece. So, like I mentioned, alignment guides are only for using the stencils alone. This set, it might look good used alone, but you're going to be missing a lot of stems, I think. So the stems do get colored in. So this one might work using alone. I don't think I've tried it. Now it makes me want to try it. Maybe after the live is over. And for our first color, should be no surprise, I'm really going for a very spring feel here. We are going to start with Coral Reef. Now I will be using our smaller brushes here as we get going, but for the first stencil, these are kind of larger areas. So I'm going to use my just standard larger brush just for this first stencil. So I will bring out our 1/2 inch blending brushes as we get into the next stencils. But for stencil number 1, with some bigger areas to cover. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use a bigger brush. And yes, Coral Reef forever. It's my favorite. Now you could grab out the smaller brushes to do these smaller. I think I need to re-ink my Coral Reef. I think it's time. You could break out the smaller brushes to do these smaller areas, but I'm going to just go with the bigger one, and then we will take a look at the smaller brushes in the next stencil. Oh, thank you guys. Love to hear that. That definitely keeps us going when we hear all of your kind words about how much you love our stencils and our products. And so we really do appreciate that. All right, this first layer, mostly about getting colors in. I blend a little deeper in some areas and then let it kind of blend out, but no rhyme or reason, just getting some color in there. Coral Reef and gold equals swoon. I agree completely. All right, well, let's remove that stencil. And we have got to start to our flowers. Louise knows me well. Is there any other color to start out with other than Coral Reef? All right, so we're going to move on to stencil 4. As I mentioned earlier, I took stencils 1 and 2 and put them to the back. We're going to do those last because they are the greenery. So now I am just taking my time to get these lined up. The great thing about this stencil is you've got some flower metals because we're going to color in some details, but we also have some elements that have not been colored in yet. And so I am using those elements that haven't been colored in yet as my guide. And then the rest of the stencil just falls right into place. Oh, Candace, I hope your knee replacement goes well. I know it's got a long healing process, but hopefully at the end of it, you get movement and motion back. Okay, we are moving to action proof. And now we are going to pull out the little small brushes. This is our 1/2 inch brushes. I'm not using the little tiny guys today just because my areas are a little bit bigger. And I'm not using multiple colors in areas. So I feel like the 1/2 inch brush for today is the better bet. All right, I am just getting it inked up. And then I'm gonna just get these blended in. So as I mentioned before, we are blending in some detail layers over top of the Coral Reef, but then we are also blending in some additional new flowers. So we're going to have a lovely little array of coral and passion fruit flowers. And then when we get to our next stencil, we're going to throw in some orange, which just makes these fresh and glowy. And I think this is going to be a fun color palette today. So these, I'm mostly just worried about getting color added in, less about shading. I'm kind of doing my same old. I blend a little bit deeper in some areas and then not as deep in others, just to give it a little gradation, but I'm not worried about where the shadow is coming from or anything, just mostly about having a little gradation in the color. Passport to Pinkfresh land. Someone is saying your passport is your credit card. That was funny. Right, almost done here. All right, I feel pretty good about that. Just gonna wipe my brush off a little bit just to get the excess ink out. You may have noticed lately, I haven't been wiping my stencil down with a dry cloth. And what I had been finding is it was kind of smudging underneath. So lately I've just been peeling the stencil off and I can clean it off later. And that's been working really great for me. So it's a little change I've made recently. That just seems to work better for me. I don't think my tape underneath is sticking very well. I bet I needed to wipe my mat down, but I think we're okay. Look at how beautiful that color gradation is. Okay, so we are moving on to stencil 5. And this is the start of our orange flowers. So once again, I'm just lining that stencil up to the flowers. Absolutely, Terry. So that's why we don't only focus on brand new products for our lives. Of course, we focus on new stuff right after it releases, but we absolutely like to go back and bring out items from previously released, because we want people to have continued inspiration for things they might already own. So we like to kind of, have a good balance in our lives for that. So we are moving on to apricot for this layer, and I've got my little brush out. So should show this, what I'm pulling out of. This is how our brushes come. Of course, they're not colored, they're white. I've just used them a lot. And so they're in their own little carrying case. These tuck right into the drawer I set aside for them when I knew that we were releasing them. And like, just look at how cute that is. I love this. So that's where I'm pulling these brushes from. And we're going to go ahead and start getting these blended in. So I'm going to blend a little bit lighter on this layer because when I do this, the next layer, which is the details, I'm not going to switch colors. I'm going to stick with apricot because I don't want to move up to clementine. I want these to stay just a little lighter, not as light as peach fuzz, but I don't want to make the jump to clementine. So I am just kind of ink blending these a little lighter so that when I go to add the details in and I layer that apricot onto it, I'll get some good gradation between the two. Hi, Roberta. Glad you could join today. Okay, get that little bud blended in here. Okay. Great, I'm feeling good about that. So you don't need to wipe that off because I'm gonna keep the apricot. Oh, these are just like, I don't know if it captures it on my video, but they're just like, almost like they feel like candlelight. Candlelight, they're warm and glowy and sunshiny, just what we need. Although the sun is shining beautifully here today. I can't complain. All right, so this next stencil, this is stencil 6, technically the final stencil, not for us, is flower details and middles. We've got a couple pieces that haven't been colored in, so I'm using those and then making some small adjustments to align the rest of the stencil in place. There we go. And I am going to tape them down. I think someone was asking what type of inks we carry, and our inks are dye inks, just for reference. Okay. Now I'm going to be a bit heavier handed this time because I also have flower middles to blend in. Now these are probably going to be quite subtle because they're blending in over top of passion fruit for the most part. So they're probably going to be a bit more subtle. That's okay. I may end up putting jewels in the middles. I don't know. So it may be a moot point. I'm just blending this stencil in a bit heavier handed than I did. I'm not real worried about gradation. This one. This one's just about getting color in it. Okay. Feeling good about that. Let's just pick up the excess and get it in some of these middles so I'm not wasting any of that ink on my glass mat. And I'm feeling pretty good. So our flowers are done, and look at how great those details are. Now they look really vibrant right now, but as that dye ink basically dyes the paper and kind of soaks into the paper a little bit, they smooth out, they get real creamy, they're beautiful. So keep that in mind. They are extremely vibrant right now, but they will start to become a little bit more subtle as they dry. All right, so we're back to, oops, hold on. I think I got these flip around. Yep, I did. I put them in the wrong way. Okay, we're back to stencil number 1, which is the first layer of greenery. And this is some pretty thin little greenery. So my thoughts are take some time to get these lined up because it might take a little bit because they're pretty thin little pieces. So just take a little bit of extra time to make sure each one is nice and lined up. And I feel good about that. Thank you guys. I'm glad you're liking my color choices. So are going to start our greenery with pear. And honest truth, friends, I am just going to use a bigger brush for this one, just to, because it's, you know, I have a little bit of area to cover. So I'm going to go with a little bit bigger brush to just get it in there a little bit better, a little bit quicker. You could absolutely use the smaller brushes. Now, if you wanted to do dual tone shades on this greenery, the small brushes would be fantastic for that. I'm just going to keep them the one color for now. So we'll just go with a bigger brush for this guy. Yeah, absolutely, Louise. I think I was talking while you while you spoke or while you typed. Actually, you know what? I may do that. So I'm getting this fresh pear, a nice good, ooh, I think I moved those stencils. The stencil moved on me. So let me get this back in alignment. Tape that guy down. There we go. And actually, I think I am gonna do this. Go ahead and grab the next green, which is gonna be used on the next stencil. And let's grab our little 1/2 inch guy. And I am gonna do some dual toned greenery here. So I'm gonna deepen the color just at the base of each greenery area, and then just fade it down and kind of just give some nice deeper gradation in that greenery. Okay. I think this is going to be nice. It may be subtle. I think it's going to be a nice little gradation. Where do I want those? Right there. Okay. Okay. And then where is the petal? There we go. Like that. And then finally, last little bit here. I'm going to keep my grassy knoll out because I'm going to use it again. But look at that. I love that. I got a little bit of gradation. I don't know if it shows up super well on camera. I got a little bit of gradation in that greenery and just to give it a little bit of interest. So I'm glad that I did that. Okay, and then this is stencil number 2, our final stencil. It is just coloring in like these bigger bits of greenery. So I am in the top piece. I don't even think I'm going to be using this piece, but I'll have it available and for another card. Overlap stencil opening. I don't even think I'm going to use this piece on my card today, but I'll have it available to make another card with. Right. And then I am going to go ahead and I am going to start with a bigger brush today. And then I'm going to add some gradation with my smaller brush. Oh, oopsies. Got a little ink on the side of my ink stand. I'll have to clean that up when all is said and done. So we're going to start off, and I'm going to just use this bigger brush to cover, because it's a little bit larger area here, just to get some of this grassy knoll ink. So I got that in there. Then I'm going to switch over to my little 1/2 inch brush here. And this is where I'm going to add some more gradation. And this is the great thing about these brushes, friends. It makes this process so much easier. And I could have switched colors, but I didn't really want to do that. I wanted these fresh greens today to go with the colors of the flowers. Wendy, this is the first time I've actually heat embossed with this set too, and I am thrilled with how it turned out. I think I have used it. I've used the washi tape, and then I think I've just stamped it in black. So I'm actually really excited with how it turned out. Okay. You be careful of this little piece here. You can move it up and accidentally get your brush underneath it. So you'll notice I kind of keep my finger down when I'm blending around here, just to keep that piece in check. Okay. Let's do a little brush cleanup. Let's take a final reveal of our ink blended items today. Look at that. I think that turned out so pretty. It is extremely vibrant right now, but like I mentioned earlier, it will calm down a little bit once that ink kind of, settles in and dries. Linda, I kind of do both, but you don't pick up that much ink that you dab off on your glass mat. You don't pick up that much. So typically I just grab it towards the end so I don't waste it and do what I can to get it into the image. So I've just set aside my stencils for now. I will clean those. I'll clean those more extensively when I end the live. I just spritz them down with a few spritzes of rubbing alcohol. And then lost my train of thought. And then just wipe them dry. Okay, let's go ahead and get this stuff die cut. So these dies are a little bit bigger than standard plates. So, and I learned a really fun hack from some crafty friends of mine last year. So these are the Sizzix extended cutting plates. And if you take 3 of them and then add a paper shim into the sandwich, this is just a 100-pound paper shim. It equates the thickness of a standard Gemini Junior cutting sandwich. So I have been loving this hack. Now, something I do always point out, these are not branded for Gemini Juniors. So if your Gemini Junior has a warranty on it, I would proceed with caution. I've had my Gemini Junior for many, many years, definitely not under warranty. So using their branded plates is not a big deal to me. But I just wanted to mention that because they are not branded. So I'm assuming they would void your warranty. Now I'm just taking a little bit of time to get this lined up. It's a bigger die, so it takes a little bit of time for me to get them lined up nice and correctly. So I'm just making sure here. All right. And then I'm going to tape it down nice and secure. So hopefully it doesn't shift on me when it goes through the machine. I feel like that's good. Right. And then I'm going to run it through my machine and I will be right back. Alrighty. So then the magical part is with one easy cut or one easy pass through your die cut machine, all of those pieces are cut out. That's my favorite part about one piece dies is I don't have to cut out a million. I don't have to tape down a million dies to get them all cut up. So we have our pieces. So I'm going to just set those aside for now. I don't need my extended plates any longer. So I'm going to put those away. And just now I knew based on time that I wasn't going to have time to do the foiling on camera. So I am using our butterflies set and I've already pre-foiled it in Aura colored foil, but we're going to go ahead and also get this cut out as well, because this is what I'm going to use as my form to create my floral butterfly here. All right. Once again, it's a one-piece die. I'm only going to be using the one butterfly. I can use that other butterfly at a different time. let's go ahead and get this guy cut out as well. Okay. And there's that. So go ahead and get these set aside. Now I do need to get my sentiments done real quick. So let's go ahead and also get those done. I think I forgot to grab a couple pieces of scrap white cardstock, so give me just a moment on that. All right, here we go. Yes. And I also need my little mini stamping platform. So we are going to do sentiments from a couple of different things. So we're going to use the Lots of Love sentiment from the Whimsical Blooms stamp set that florals came from. So let's go ahead and get that stamped first. I'm actually going to stamp it down here because it has a coordinating die. So I am going to stamp this in passion fruit. And so when I stamp with dye inks, I typically stamp a few times just because I feel like that just gives me better coverage when you stamp a couple times. So it'll be quite bright first, and then it will tone down as well. But I want it to pop a little bit, and I didn't want it to be gold because there's already going to be a lot of gold on this card. Okay, so I feel good about that. So we can go ahead and remove this. Now, there are a ton great secondary sentiments in this stamp set, but I wanted ones that were a little bit more dainty. So I looked through our stamp sets and I found in the Thankful for Friends, we've got some really nice, dainty, they're very thin and dainty sentiments. So I think, because I know I'm going to kind of adhere it in a very thin strip down the middle, I think I am going to pick either Our Friendship is Amazing or You Are My Favorite Human. And I think I'm going to go with You Are My Favorite Human. Julie, yes. Is that upside down? No, it's not upside down. The way that I do the extended plates for the Gemini Junior is 3 Sizzix extended plates and 1 paper shim, and I just used 100-pound paper shim for that. All right, just getting that lined up. I will trim it down so I don't have to line it up perfectly straight. Just trying to make it as straight as I possibly can there. And then we're going to do this guy in detail black. So I'm going to get my little ink cube here and get it inked up. I think I might need to re-ink my detail black ink cube, and I see where I got smushed. We're going to start this over again because I kind of smushed the ink and I don't want it to make a big old blob. So let's try that again. No, we don't want any detail black blobs. No blobs allowed. There we go. That's better. And this is such a dainty sentiment that I'm going to just take my time. I just barely kissed ink on that surface, and I'm just going to stamp it a couple times. Okay. All right. I think I'm going to leave it like that. Go ahead and wipe this guy down. Take it out later. These out. And let's trim and die cut our sentiments out. Valerie, yes. Detail black ink Let me pull out the bigger guy. Detail black ink is hybrid. So it is alcohol marker and watercolor friendly. You just want to make sure that you give it time to dry. Okay. So I'm going to trim this down into a thin little sentiment. Hopefully I didn't cut any off. Oh, good, I didn't. Sometimes that guide is a little hard for me to judge on the inner part. Okay. And just line it up here. Perfect. Now I've got a perfect little thin sentiment strip. One more thing to die cut. Let's grab the Coordinating Lots of Love die and get it cut out, and then we'll start getting our card assembled. Okay, get that tape down here. Oops. There we go. So here's that. I'm looking at it, and I may have, I don't know, in the end, after this is over, I may end up restamping that sentiment and switching it to Coral Reef. I don't have time to do that live, so you'll just have to wait and see for the photos if I do. I'm going to give Passion Fruit a little bit of time to calm down, but it is very bright. So we'll see. We will see. Okay, I'm not going to use this little piece here. So we are going to grab, we're not going to use the two larger pieces. I'll just set those aside and use those a different day. We're going to use these smaller pieces here. And so we are going to build up, we're going to just create the butterfly wing. One side of the wing is going to be flowers. And so I'm just kind of figuring out the best way to build it in here. I may need to trim that stem off. I actually think I will. So let's just go ahead and do that. I'm going to trim it down a little bit. I'll try to make it look as natural as possible, but I don't want the stem to overlap the butterfly middle too much. Okay. So there's that. I may have to trim more actually. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to trim all the way down. There we go. So much better. Like that. And then this, we're going to tuck in down in here. Like that. Let me see if one of these might first. Maybe. Oh no, that does not look. So it's, I may end up only using these three pieces actually. I may actually see. Yeah, I think I'm just going to end up using these three pieces here. So I may not even use this little guy. Okay. Thanks, guys. I'm glad you like this. I'm not the first person to create butterfly with wings with flowers. It is a very pretty process though. So I think it was fun. It was going to be fun to share this. So I'm going to start getting these adhered down. I want to have a little bit of time to be able to arrange. So I'm using liquid blue. Okay, let that guy go to the top. And I'm okay if some of that wing pokes out underneath it a bit. That doesn't bother me. So I might see if I can fit that other piece, but I just don't think it's going to. I think that this it's going to be perfect just with these few pieces tucked in here. There we go. Yep, perfect. Okay. And then we'll tuck this little guy in here. And I am digging our fun little butterfly here. I think that's real pretty. Okay, so I think this is just going to be too much to add that guy in there. So I'm going to leave him off too, her off, him off, whatever. And I will save these for another card. But I think that turned out lovely. I am probably going to go a couple minutes over. Friends, I'm going to get through assembling the card as quickly as I can, but just in full disclosure, probably will go a little bit over. 6 stencils is a lot for me to get through. It always takes me a little bit more time. Okay. So a couple of things that I did off camera to help the sake of time. I've made some card bases. I'm not sure which color I'm going to use yet. I did pre-cut what's going to be my background. This is our daisy chain cover plate. This did not make it into the email because I made this as kind of a last minute decision. So, but it is in the description, the video description. So this is going to be part of my background. And then I also pre-cut one of our new Art Deco frames. I know Heather used these last week in the live, but I thought it would be a really lovely addition to the butterflies here. And since they're brand new, I figure you can't have too much inspiration with something that's brand new. So these pieces are going to be a part of my card here. So I pre-did those for the sake of time. So let's go ahead. I need to pick out which, and we're going to do landscape or landscape card. I just need to pick out which color I want. I'm leaning towards pink. But let me see. Leaning towards pink, but let me see the peachy tone. Yeah, I think you guys, I'm going with my gut. I think I'm going to go with pink. I know that there's a lot more pink on this than there is the orange, but I think I'm just preferring that pinky tone underneath it. Sherry, there is not a stencil that goes with the, I see a little middle piece with the daisy chain. You could actually always create your own stencil and use it that way. Like you could actually turn this piece into a stencil and use it like that. So always something to keep in mind. I know that there's also stencil material out there that you can cut from. I always found that a little hard to cut from. So whenever I've made stencils from background dies, I typically just make temporary stencils, ones that you can, recycle or maybe even use on a different project after you're done ink blending, depending on how ink blending turned out. So something to keep in mind. Okay. Let's see. I am just using some liquid glue in the areas where there aren't the cut out pieces so that I can get this guy glued down to my card piece. Okay. Great. Yes, I think Heather is mentioning that. So people have noticed that we've had a couple of colors out of stock for a long time, and a mistake got made on those colors, and so we don't sell ink colors with mistakes. So we unfortunately had to get it redone. So that is the reason for that. All right, let's get that adhered down. And then flipped the right way. I'm actually going to put these pieces of tape in here. Okay, looks like Heather is announcing a winner now in case people have to head out while I finish here. So congratulations to Renee Graveldi. You won today's $15 gift card code, so yay. Congratulations. Heather gave you all the info on how to claim your prize. Just send me an email. My email is leah@pinkfreshstudio.com. There's no H on the end of my name, so it's just LEA. And give me about 2 to 3 business days to get back to you with your code. All right, so I learned this trick from Heather using those thin foam strips to grab 2 at a time. I don't know if she did it last week or when it was, but like it was that, like, you know, hand to your forehead moment. Like, why had I never thought of that before? I want to look at this because, hey. Because I think I want some of this to kind of be underneath the frame. So just getting that. And then I think lots of love. I think that's about good right there. So I've got my butterfly in place. Probably could have done that way easier, but hey, I made it work. Doing that. Getting it glued down. And then I'm going to add a couple pieces of foam underneath it just so that tail is up here. So I'm just going to grab a couple pieces of foam dots here. And I am just going to stick them down towards the base. I don't feel like they need to stick towards the top because I feel like it gives that a more natural dimension when you don't stick the top. Okay, so then thank you guys, appreciate it. Get this guy trimmed down here. My little pile of garbage over there. Trying to figure out where I want this to go. I think I might actually do it over here and then do a little jewel cluster to open up this little. So I just don't think I have enough room over here. I don't. So this is what we're going to do. Let me get some little thin foam here. Now you don't have to use thin foam on here. You could cut multiple pieces or multiple layers of this guy to get it adhered down. I'm just going to do it this way for the sake of time. That is always an option. So I think I have a little piece here I can use. Perfect. Right. I know daylight savings time is the worst. I was grumpy all day yesterday. So let's tuck this guy in here. I grew up in Arizona, so I did not start my life with daylight savings time. So that's definitely a different thing for Arizonans, because we do not follow daylight savings time. Okay, I think this guy, I might need a little more. I think I cut it a little short. I just don't want to go edge to edge because I don't want it to stick to the stuff underneath it. There we go. I feel better about that. Okay. I've just got one final step to do. Thanks for bearing with me while I go a little bit over time here, friends. 6 stencils is a lot for me. I even did a lot of pre-work and I'm still going over. Okay, so let's go ahead and grab our Pixie dust. These are our Pixie dust glitter drops. Some arranged in here. They're a mixture of these kind of corals, and there's purples in here too. And so I'll just avoid the purples because I don't have any purple that I'm using today. But they're kind of this, it's just this beautiful combination of like these peachy corals and golds, yellows. So I just am going to avoid the purple that is included in the set today. Okay. So let's see here. I do want to embellish the flowers a little bit. May have to grab more out because I think that that will be very pretty. See, I told you the flower centers would be a moot point. That, and then let's go ahead and grab a little trio here. And this might be how I finish off today. And then maybe just one guy just down here. Perfect. Let's get these, oh, wrong way. Get my hands mixed up sometimes when I do this. Oops. Oh, shoot. Did not grab that securely enough. I'm at the end of my Barely Arts glue here, so I have to really shake it down. It also might be clogged. Of course it is, because I left it out. So let's try this again. There we go. Okay. And my head might have just hit my camera. I apologize if it, oh, shoot, come back out here. There we go. Okay. There is that. I am done with my card. So there is our card for today. I hope you guys enjoyed watching it come together. I'm still deciding on if I want to switch this to Coral Reef. So, which means I'll probably have to redo my little sentiment here, but I'll pick the same one for that. So just be on the lookout for that because I may change my mind. I'm not completely sure. So I hope you enjoyed my card today. And I will get this flipped around and I will let you guys go because I know I went about 10 minutes over today. So let me get this flipped around real quick. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed my little butterfly shaped card. I enjoyed putting it together. So for reference, this was the card that inspired today's card. Totally different looking, right? So, but that is definitely what inspired my card today. I like to look back at cards from previous releases and find other ways to do them. So thank you so much for joining me today. I'm going to make our conclusion here short because I've already gone 10 minutes over time. But I believe Thursday we have our scrapbooking live. I think it's with Kathleen this week. Same time, same place, right here in our YouTube channel. And then next week, Heather and I will be sneak peeking our March release. And it's very subtle, but somewhere I've actually given you a little peek what it is. I'm not saying anymore. You'll have to wait for next week. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me for my fun little butterfly card today. I hope you enjoyed watching it come together. And we hopefully will see you on Thursday for Testing and Scrapbooking Live. And then other than that, we will see you next week for a sneak peek. Have a great rest of your Tuesday, friends. And we'll see you next week. Bye.